Hey, welcome with another typology interview. We have Pastor Personality here. What's your first name?
Yeah, my name is Charlie. Charlie
Charlie.
Wallace.
Can I call you Charlie?
Yes,
All
Yeah, please. Yeah, that's just a a YouTube name. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So you do. I got that YouTube channel. I checked out some of your videos. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool
Yeah.
stuff.
Thanks.
So you're a pastor,
I am.
and you've been into personality for a while, I guess.
Yeah. So about 5 years ago, I was working on my doctoral dissertation for my doctorate,
Right.
and
In what?
it's in like ministry and leadership and stuff like
Okay.
this. And so I knew it was something to do with leadership, and so I had to do like my project on something with that. I really wasn't sure what to do it on, and so I was reading a lot of the books you have to read, and I came across, you know, Myers Briggs, like one random sentence about Myers Briggs personality, some strange random book. It wasn't even a personality book, and I was like, "What? What is that?" And so I started researching it, and I thought, "Oh, you know what? This could be cool." So my dissertation ended up being personality and leadership dynamics in a local church.
Okay.
So I got real kind of consumed, absorbed in that, and um, so when I started looking into it, 5 years ago, you see all these. I kind of knew about some personality stuff. I was a little familiar with some other things that, like the temperaments, like the phlegmatic, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I got married years ago, our counselor kind of sent us through that kind of stuff, and I got like, different, I don't remember what I was, but it was interesting, I guess, for the most part. Um, but when I started looking into the typology, I went to this website, and it's like, take a test. And I went to go take it. If there's a Keirsey temperament test, I went to go take it, and I was like, "Oh, I've already taken this," but I didn't know that I had taken it.
Oh
Maybe
wow.
a couple years before, and I had scored INTP.
Right. Okay.
Which, yeah, right. And I was like, "Huh." So I read about INTP online. I was like, "Oh wow, this is like the coolest, most rare, and like personality."
Yeah.
And
It's the
so I was
most
like, "All
popular,
right,
and
this is pretty
everyone's an
cool.
INTP.
This explains a lot, right?"
Yeah.
And so then a couple years later, I moved to this church. I've been here almost 6 years, and I was working on the dissertation. So I saw that I had done that. So I didn't really like that test. So I thought, well, I'll just test the whole staff, and we'll get some, I needed like a baseline for my studies. And so we have like, at the time, maybe 12 or so people on staff. And so um, I found I think it was the 16 personalities test, and I gave it to everyone. And so I
Right.
went ahead and took it again because I needed everybody to take it fresh. And I got ENTP.
Closer.
Yeah, yeah, closer. And I was like, huh. And I thought about it, and so I had the I and then the E, and so then I really struggled. I was like, well, am I an introvert, an extrovert? I couldn't quite tell, and I would talk to my wife about it, and she was like, oh, you're an extrovert, this for these reasons and stuff. And I'd be like, well, I really enjoy like being alone and all that kind of things. Didn't really fit right, and so I was always wondering about that. And then a couple years later, I got involved with some more just community groups, I guess, that people who knew how to type. And I asked a couple random people, and they're kind of well known in the community. Watch some of my sermons, and what would you type me as? I was just curious, because I knew there was probably something inherently flawed with typing yourself, but I didn't know that was the issue, but I knew that it would be helpful if somebody else could look at it. And one person came back with ISTP,
Hmm.
and so there's the ST, right?
Right.
And then another person came back with ESTP. And I
Okay.
was like, okay, well, maybe. And but they were still getting the STP thing. So I was
Right.
like, well, and so then I was really confused. I was like, well, I don't know what that means. So I was on YouTube one day, and I guess when the first couple of videos that Dave had dropped, when the new ones came up,
Right.
because I remember that I had come across his videos before, and I thought I liked them, and then I saw the link to their website, and I went to it, and I was like, wait a second, this, like, maybe I could. So I thought about it, and I saw they were typing people. I'd never seen anybody offer to do that, and it had a system.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I think I'm going to do this because I feel like these people at least have a system, and they are tracking something, and at least I'll get some kind of answers, so I can kind of get this settled, and so I can start, and I can kind of move on, right? And so I sent a video in, and they watched some of my sermons, and they came back with their type. I don't know if you want me to tell that or not, but I
Yeah,
can.
yeah, oh, yeah. Okay, so what did you put yourself as something before you got
I
typed, or?
told them kind of what I told you. I kind of told them the history of like what I
Right.
had,
Okay.
but I said, I'm not married to this. This is not, I
Right.
don't, and so by saying that, I probably gave away part of my
And
personality too,
and
right?
yeah, well, you already said ESTJ, right?
Yeah, ESTJ. And
Yeah.
so they came back with that and blast, sleep, consume, play.
Right. Okay. Do you agree with the type that they gave you? Did you agree with it right away, or?
Well, when I was waiting for it, it was kind of funny because like my worst nightmare was I would come back as an ESTJ or an ISTJ.
Wow.
And so I was like, oh, because the few people I knew that were ESTJs, I was like, these people were like horrible people. I was like, the
Well,
people I personally knew, it's just
they
like,
might not even be ASTJs. I don't
they
know.
may not be,
Yeah.
I know, like, they had typed that way, but I was
Right.
kind of like, I was like, ugh. And like maybe it's possible I typed ESTJ one time, online, and I think I had like 5 cups of coffee or something, when I did it. Um, so at first I was like, and so they had this long 45-minute video where they kind of like talked you off the ledge at the beginning.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And Dave said, if you just did the 16 types, he says, I would probably agree with ENTP. That's what he said, which I thought was interesting. And I think I know why he said that now. He says, I think I'd probably agree with that. He says, but when you unfold it, he says, of the 32 ESTJs, he said, you would be, they got me double feminine too. So he
Oh,
says, you would be one of the 32.
interesting.
Yeah. So the more I've thought about it, and so I've learned it. So then I didn't know anything about it. So then I started taking the classes. I'm still in the classes, and I try to
Oh,
learn
nice.
about it.
Okay.
I thought possibly blast sleep. I can totally see that. I thought maybe I was play consume other than consume play.
Right, but you're
Uh,
reading all day, you said.
yeah, but it I do, but it's not something like
It's not a hobby.
I read what I want to read, but it's like, yeah, like, so again, school and stuff, like I didn't read, like, yeah,
Well,
I'm
yeah,
not reading.
that makes sense because your consume is
Yeah,
FI, so it's what you want. It's like what you like.
that's right. That's right. So
Yeah.
I've gone back and forth, but I think for the most part now so they have me FTEF, feminine SI. And so that would make sense to me because that would be masculine NE demon.
Okay.
And so that's why I would relate to the ENTP, I think, maybe,
Right.
possibly.
Right.
Because you don't see those, if you don't see, so my theory that I've kind of come up with, I don't know if it's true, but if you have feminine saviors out in front, you really don't see those. I'm thinking, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. Okay, so you have your double feminine, so that's your double
Yeah,
feminine blast.
that's right.
Um, do you identify with TE as your lead function?
Yeah. I mean, as I learned more about what it was, because I think they define it maybe a little bit differently than some of the online literature would.
Right.
Maybe some intricacies there. And so as they've defined it and as I've learned about it, I am very much like, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this, let's go on to the next thing,
Right.
and just kind of get started. And I am very efficient and very, like, I just want to get it done.
Okay. Are
So I can relate to that.
are you looking for what like agreement between people and looking for what works?
Yeah. So that's been the biggest revelation is that the EJ are the tribe issues.
Okay.
And so that's caused me to really think about, yeah, I probably do have that. And then I would think about it longer and months would go by and I'd be like, and I would see where I would do that. And I'd be like, yeah, that's exactly the problem.
Hmm.
And
Do you,
so go ahead.
yeah, do you feel like the tribe is not movable? Like you can't guide the tribe, or
No, I feel like I can if I go slowly and
oh,
slowly move them along
and move
and
with them, or
not necessarily move with them, but kind of slowly kind of guide them, get them in line a little bit.
okay,
And so I think that's the feminine T.
interesting.
I think that's how it plays out, at least how I understand it.
Right. But like, do you feel like you're flowing with I don't know, flowing with agreement, like trying to get on board with like public opinion and things like this, or
Yeah, I don't want um and this is where being a pastor is difficult. Like, as a Christian pastor, you have pretty clear beliefs about things,
right?
but I'm not someone who's out there punching people in the face with them. At least I'm not trying to.
Oh, okay. Oh,
And
yeah. Okay.
I want to, like, so if I'm talking to someone of a different religion, like I want to bond and kind of connect before we ever go to like hard questions. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I
And
think that's
yeah. And what about like all of your experiences and your facts and your knowledge? Is that all like also very feminine and non set in stone sort of thing?
like the SI. You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so because, like, for instance, not the primary doctrines wouldn't be, but like some tertiary doctrines, like some third level doctrines of Christianity, like study of end times. Like, there's a lot of different views out there of like when Jesus is coming back and all these kind of things, and they're very controversial, and people will fight over them. But I'm kind of like, whatever,
Right.
it's like he's coming back. That's the main belief, and I'll give you that. But the intricacies of it, I'm not going to fight you on that all day long because no one. I don't feel like anybody really knows that. If they did, it would be much more. People would be in much more agreement on that, I think.
Right.
So I think that would come out with that. I think.
So that I'm more interested like in how your SI is playing out in your life. Like how do you see it
Um,
play out?
yeah, I don't. This is why I think I also used to test like an NTP type. I do not have a good memory for things.
Right, because it's feminine, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, and this is why when I was telling my wife I was typed this way, she was like, "What? No, you're not an S," because she kind of understood the S N deal,
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, no, it's feminine," and so missing my keys, where did I put this down, that kind of thing.
Right.
What did you do at work today? I don't know. That like I've already moved on to like the next day.
Right.
Thinking about what I did earlier today.
And well, because also you do have a strong N because you're a double observer. So do you see
That's
that
right.
too? Do you see a double observing?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the control chaos issues don't freak me out nearly as my wife. My wife is the opposite. She's a
Right.
EP, and so yeah, I see that with her. I'm like, what are you worried about? Like, what's the deal? Like, and then I'm worried about
The tribe, and
if
she doesn't
something I
understand
said to someone. I'm like, you
it.
think they're upset with me about that? I'm
Yeah.
talking about it, and she's like, why do you care? Yeah, I
Right.
see that a lot.
Okay, so then so you should have like a decent balance on N and S. Like okay, so that
Yes.
NE is masculine. Like do you see that like the present moment is filled with possibilities and things like that?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Yeah,
What
yeah.
does that mean?
What's that?
What does it mean? How does it play out?
So, um, I'm not sure if I can articulate it.
Right.
I don't know. Um, I don't know. I have to think about that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Um what about your likes and your FI, your demon FI? Are you in
yeah.
touch with what you like or
So this is funny. So my children are always asking what my favorite this is. What's my favorite that? What's my
okay.
favorite that? I'm like, I don't have favorites.
Really?
I don't. I just don't have a lot of favorites. Like, I have certain things. Like, I have sports teams I'll pull for, like that I've been
Okay.
born into.
Born
Like, it
into
makes no
okay.
sense. Like, why do you pull for this team? Well, I grew up going to their games all my life, and so there's no logic to that, and I have loyalty to that kind of value, I guess.
Right.
Favorite food, favorite, you know, uh, music. I like a lot of different things, and whatever I'm in the mood for, I'll listen to. So maybe
Right.
that's masculine NE. I don't know what that is, but
And do you have that inner value that's really pushing you or pulling you in directions?
well, yeah. I mean, ultimately, I'm in a career that's
Value based.
very
Yeah.
value based, right? And so that's just kind of like a given to me. Like, that's
Right.
part of that identity, right? Um, so, but when it gets to like little specific things, it's the T is just like whatever works, man. Let's just do it.
Right. But like, do you think that those values help structure your identity? Do they contribute to your identity?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
And do you think that that like your values are not movable? Do you feel like your identity isn't movable?
Um, yeah. I mean, your big things like I don't think I would ever change my faith. Like that
Right.
would never. And I've studied a lot of I say a lot, maybe not, but I have. I've studied a lot of philosophies and different religions. I've taught about different religions and stuff, and I've seen all different angles and stuff. And I've never been tempted to like change.
Right.
And so I feel like that's pretty solid.
And do you run into trouble with the fact that your values are so strong, like that you come like into some difficult situation where you're like, I just can't give up on my values, or
Not a lot.
no?
How it works out is, I think this is, I think, how it works out. So like if I'm leading I have a council that we link a lot of decisions with. For the most part, I'm going to do what's best for the congregation, for the people.
Right.
But every now and then, and so I'm giving and I'm giving and I'm giving, I'm leading this way. But every now and then that FI will whip around and it'll be like, and people are like, where did that come from? Like, what is that? Like, it's like you hit a nerve kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's just unpredictable. And so what I've tried to do,
Is it like an outburst or something, or what is it?
it's not, it might be like an email that's a little tense,
Okay.
or a wording that's a little strong. That's, it's unlike me. And so that's what I guess rattles people,
A little ragey, or
Yeah, probably so. I mean, I'm not like cussing people out or anything, but it's like
yeah.
very forceful.
Okay.
Yeah. So now I realize that like that'll come out. And so I've learned to kind of manage that. And so what I've tried to do is, in practical ways, let that FI kind of breathe more.
So
But it
how have you
seems
been doing that?
very selfish. So I'll say things in conversations, in meetings that I would not normally say. Like,
Okay.
instead of like just going along with something, I'll say, well, I don't think we should do that because I don't, and I'll have feelings about things, and I'll just say, I don't want to do that, and I'll give no reason for it. I'll just say, I don't have a reason for this. I'm
Don't want
against
it.
it.
Nice. Okay.
And so that's hard for me to like say that because I've
Right.
always felt like I have to give reasons.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. For sure. With the
So I've learned to
ST,
just say it's okay just to say no, and I can't give you a reason. I'm just not.
you're not down with it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
And so you've been doing that more, and then the tidal wave stop, sort of thing.
I feel like if I can get that out
Right.
more, and because I have a hard time expressing my feelings, like years ago, my wife and I went through premarital counseling. We had this thing where we had to like express our feelings. Like I needed a word bank. Like
Right.
I don't, give. Oh yeah, that's the word right there.
Right.
So I feel like the more I can work on that, like my son who's 12 is incredible at expressing his feelings. I'm like, how do you even know how to do that? At age 12.
Right.
And so it's just something I've learned now. Okay, this is not normal. Maybe for me it is, but other people can express it better. So I've tried to come up with ways to do that. Even in my preaching, I've been a little more firm on the issues and things that I would say.
Right.
And the theory is, if I let that breathe a little bit, maybe I won't get the tidal waves.
Are you able to pick out how you're feeling? Are you aware of it these days, or
Um, yeah, I think better. It's
but you still have to stop and think about it,
I
or
know
stop and reflect?
I can anticipate like this is going to cause a tidal wave, and like
Uh,
if I don't deal with this now, in 2 or 3 months, I'm going to like lose it on somebody.
right. And do you take the time or like tense situations to reflect on it and deal with those emotions?
Yeah, that's something I'm trying to work on.
Because like you're supposed to have sleep second, right?
Yes.
So do you do that? Do you go over your
Yeah, I
past
mean,
and how you feel about it?
you there? Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm thinking about that kind of thing. Um, oh,
Yeah, yeah.
okay,
It's okay. It just
okay,
froze.
okay. What? Repeat it again.
Do you reflect on the past and how you feel about it?
Yeah, I'm always thinking about the past. That's kind of like that just happens.
Right.
It like I don't know if that's sleep, but like I'm driving the car and past pops up all the time.
Right. But the past in a thinking way or more in a feeling way?
It's a good question. I'm probably wrestling with my feelings about it.
Right.
Yeah. Like, how do I
Okay.
feel about this? Why do I feel this way? How can
Right.
I make this feeling stop?
Right.
So,
Interesting. Okay, and then the type of stuff that you enjoy consuming, because that's supposed to be your hobby. So do you have like things that you enjoy to consume? Like I guess you're visual, so you'd be more into visual consume or no?
yeah. No, audiobooks, stuff like that. I cannot. That's
Right.
just like, I might as well be daydreaming. I mean, and so yeah, YouTube. I love YouTube. I
Right.
love, I'm still consuming things, right? And so that is definitely like a hobby kind of function. And so I'll see myself go down like a topic and really exhaust that topic for
Okay.
maybe a year or two, and then
And it's
I'll
just
just
something
kind
you
of,
do as like a hobby, not as not. Yeah.
yeah, as a hobby, absolutely, yeah.
It's you're not overdoing it. You're not like always in the consume.
Well, it's masculine, I think,
Yeah,
and
it
so I
is.
have to watch it because it'll really lock on to something.
Right. Right.
And but I can limit it. I can tell myself, okay, from 9 a.m. to 12 a.m. I'm doing work.
Right. Okay. And then
So
you have play last.
yeah, that's what
So
they
what's
said.
that like?
Well, it's definitely third or fourth. If it's not fourth. Yeah, no, I get a lot of energy out, I think, from talking and that kind of thing. But yeah, no, when I come home today, I'll probably go take a nap for 30 minutes,
Right. Do you
and I'm fine not leaving the house for 2 days.
do you like expend energy for the tribe sometimes or rarely or
Um, yeah, but it's like it's hard.
it's hard to
Now
expend energy?
I have 4 children, so if I didn't have any kids, it may be a little different,
Yeah.
because I'm spending energy for them all day long, whether I want to or not. Right when I get
Right.
home. But on Fridays and Saturdays, I am more than content to like not leave the house.
Yeah.
Because then Sunday's a big day. Sunday is a lot of interaction for 4 or 5 hours straight. It's a lot of blasting. It's a lot of working the F, connecting, and so I preserving all that on Saturday, so I can come out and do that on Sunday.
Hmm. Are you aware of the exchange between the NE and SI that your TE is trying to balance? Are you aware of that? Like between this? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. The SI is feminine, so I'm still learning about that.
Right.
But it is. I am very routine or routine oriented.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't really realize that, but I am. I mean, my closet is like shirts,
Right.
long sleeve shirts, sweaters, pants.
Well, yeah,
It's
I see the organization, like even behind you, those books are
oh
really
yeah,
nicely.
books, commentaries, sets, stuff like that. I
Yeah.
mean, it's very organized with that. Um, but really, I do that to save myself energy and time.
Right.
Yeah, like I don't want to have to think about what I'm wearing the next day.
Okay. And what about like crisis situations and things like that? Are you good in crisis situations? Good in
Yes,
the moment? Yeah.
yeah, usually pretty calm. My wife is the one that's frazzled with it.
Right.
Yeah, usually like I can. That's not that. Usually when something happens, I just jump to it and help. Yeah, for the most part, it's not. I'm comparatively with my wife, I'm the calm one with that.
With the crisis. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
But is like, are you sure your wife is chaos over control? Like she lives in the
We have
chaos?
not typed her. Dave's kind of helped me out a little bit with it.
Right.
We haven't typed her completely, but his hunch is that she's some ENFP. Now, I used to
Okay.
think she was like an INFJ. Recently, now,
Right.
definitely control chaos. I knew she was an NF, but it didn't really seem to fit. INFJ didn't seem to fit, and then I would watch other people who kind of had her type, and it didn't seem to fit. Um, but I think you had an interview with someone who was saying that they were controlling an EP was controlling because they want to be controlled. And
Right.
I think that's what she does.
I see.
Yeah. And so and I was talking to Dave recently about it. He was like, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But we don't know for sure, but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, now that I'm looking at her through the lens of this to see if this fits, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And and of course the more people and so I love your channel, the more people you can kind of compare, you can kind of
Right.
say,
Yeah.
okay, I think that's what's going on there.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. So then, are you able to type people as well? Are you getting better at that, like with your kids and things?
I think so. Like they say in their classes, you're going to have a few things that stick out
Yeah.
pretty easily.
Usually the
And
tidal
you
waves.
get 2 or 3 things and you feel pretty confident about that. Really, you can get it
Yeah.
narrowed down, I think. I
Okay.
think the language is a
Yeah.
giveaway with a lot of people.
Right.
So I did some videos on language. I think it's a big giveaway. If I don't understand someone at all, like if I've really struggled understanding someone, they're probably an NT or an NF.
Yeah. That makes
Yeah,
sense. Yeah.
it's just if I have to really. I don't know if as an ST, if you see yourself doing the same thing, um,
Um.
struggling to understand that.
Yeah. There are some people that are harder to understand, but I think it might come from more like being sleep last, and they just don't know what they're saying anyways. Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
maybe so.
But
Um, yeah,
but yeah, definitely the language, you can pick up on differences in language for sure. Yeah.
yeah. I hesitate to come out and say I can type people because I don't have a partner who
Yeah,
knows
yeah.
it as well as I do. But I feel like I can get pretty close with certain parts of it because I do think most people will give away something pretty pretty quickly. Um,
Okay.
it may be different. You know, some people I've tried to type and I get out and I feel like I get everything, but the very first thing I can't figure out if they're control chaos or tribe. That may be the hardest with some
Oh,
people
really? Okay.
that I've tried to type. But you know, it's good to practice and it's good to kind of um, think. But I understand that I could be totally off too.
Okay. Do you have any like any final thing that you want to say about your type or any message you want to give over to the tribe?
Um, hmm, I hadn't really thought about that. No, not top
Anything
of my
people
head.
should know about the difficulties that you face in your type or something like that?
um, I do think that people with double feminine saviors. I think I mentioned this on a comment. Um, I'm interested in seeing if they will mistype themselves more frequently,
Hmm.
just because you, the self doesn't see that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you don't see your saviors. If they're double feminine, I really don't think you probably see them as much.
Interesting.
That's I don't know. It's interesting to think.
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah. Okay, so check out Pastor Personality. I'll put the link in the description. You do
Sweet.
some typology stuff, and
Yeah,
yeah,
man.
thanks so much for coming out. It was great to
Thank
meet
you.
you.
Yeah, man. Great.
Have a good one.
All right. Thanks.